Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I want to talk about Planetary Survival. Recently we have heard CIG's thoughts on Planetary Survival. In this video I will delve into what we can expect to see in Star Citizen. Star Citizen is set to be a realistic universe game, not a survival game through and through, so it's really a question of how in-depth do they want the survival feature. Too much can take away from the initial gameplay, too little would just have no effect. But with that said, I am only speculating on this subject as nothing has been officially confirmed as to the level of survival mechanics. One example that was mentioned recently was about being stranded on a planet and the need to hunt wildlife for food or find a water source while awaiting rescue. Now this does really excite me, but it begs a lot of questions. Some of which have come up in the past, like do we need to eat, sleep and drink? And along with taking shelter, these are pretty much the main fundamentals in a survival game. As I said, Star Citizen is not intended to be a survival game per se, but it does dip its mini space fingers in different genres of games, and it has been confirmed that there will be some elements of survival. When it comes to anything Star Citizen, CIG do have big ideas, even for the smallest of features, so I expect the survival aspect will be quite robust and involving. Now, when it comes to being stranded, there are probably endless possibilities on how this could, how you could become stranded on a planet. Ship degradation, ship component degradation, the lack of fuel, planetary environments, being just too damn stupid to figure out how to take off. The list just goes on and on. Also, not being sure on how long you're going to be stranded for. You have distress signals, you have a mobiGlas, and to be honest, you could just shout help on the Discord and have your friends come and help you, but where's the fun in that anyway? But yeah, shelter is probably the first fundamental when it comes to survival. Shelter from the elements and from the creatures or the animals on the planet. Luckily your ship, though, fingers crossed, won't be in too much bad shape, so it would be perfect as a makeshift home. But if you're stranded maybe by pirates, a quick scout of the landscape looking for something, maybe a derelict building or an outcrop of rocks would be ideal, but the protection that it will provide will be just minimal. And then it asks the question, can we make fire? But we do know that weather on planets like sandstorms exist. Other possibilities could be things like strong winds, electrical storms, radiation storms, even plagues of locusts. With each planet being so unique, there just could be anything. Even wildlife could be an issue, so taking shelter from weather is one thing, taking shelter from a xenomorph is another thing, then maybe taking shelter from a xenomorph during a sandstorm just doesn't bear thinking about. But we have no idea what creatures will be lurking on these planets. We know Layer 3 have giant worms, but who knows what the other planets could hold. Water is a crucial fundamental when it comes to survival. Your ship, I expect, will likely come with its own water supply, because many hours in space, water is imperative wherever you are. But do you fill up your ship's water tank like you would with fuel? Will this add to the ship's overall mass? Does it recycle it like space stations? Am I thinking too much? Probably, but either way, there will likely be a limited supply of water on your ship, and if you're stranded for a considerable length of time, your water supply will likely run out. You would then need to go search for another source, so maybe like ponds, lakes, even rainfall. These are all good sources of water, but would they likely need some form of water purification, and will this take time? Should you plan ahead? Would it be tablets, or could you collect it and filter it through the ship's water system? To be honest, it kind of begs more questions than it answers, and without the answers to these questions, I waffle on. Anyway, food is up next, and obviously this commodity, again, you would hope that it would be on board your ship, and like water, we're not sure as to what extent your character will need or benefit from eating. But it does appear that food will play a role in Star Citizen. Originally, when the discussion of eating came up, Chris Roberts did say that it would not be a necessity, more give your character maybe a slight stat boost in some areas. But with them mentioning the need to hunt for wildlife in order to survive, it does sound like this has changed somewhat since then. I would expect your ship to have a small supply of rations, which you could probably purchase from a landing pad before the mission, maybe enough for the mission and the crew that you have on board. Regular eating is still debatable, but it does sound like your character will need something, some form of consumption. We do know that planets will come with plenty of flora and fauna, which will drastically vary from planet to planet. How different is unknown, but some will have natural predators, which will need to be either avoided or taken down first, whereas others could act as probably your average alien cattle, but then can humans eat them? And will they need to be cooked? I think the life on planets will have a large role in Star Citizen missions to maybe catalogue creatures capture, for research, even gathering information, watching the creatures will be an option to the player, so learning about a planet that you're intending to visit beforehand would be a very sensible idea. It's just the same as you don't plan a camping trip without checking your destination first. First aid and medical supplies would be highly important. Again, unsure as to how the level of depth the medical career will be. In fact, I am currently working on a video to talk about the medical profession in Star Citizen, so do keep an eye out for that. But having a med bay on board your ship, or even the minimal medical supplies, will keep you alive for longer in any environment, regardless of what it is. Taking damage from an animal, or even the initial crash, to eating and drinking something poisonous will need to be treated. I do suggest in the game carrying the bare minimum with you at all times, regardless of whether you're stranded or not. Hopefully we can have a backpack and chuck a load of stuff in there, or maybe on your spacesuits we'll have extra carrying areas. Again, more questions than answers. But when it comes to weaponry, your personal firearms and weaponry will not be vital, but it will just really aid you in your surviving for longer. From hunting food to personal protection, it kind of speaks for itself. I don't really need to delve into that too much. But I would personally prefer there to be a detailed survival element to Star Citizen. Having a robust survival mechanic, not too accurate to real life, but enough to make sure that you think about supplies before a mission, would really add to the overall gaming experience for me. But how far is too far? You know, you don't want to be spending all your pre-mission time shopping for food. It would just get a little irritating. It's going to be a fine balance, as most things are in Star Citizen, and I'm sure that we will assist CIG in finding this balance once the survival mechanic is getting fleshed out. This subject also delves into the planetary habitation and living on planets, but I'll address that in a future video. Now, I know the subject of characters eating, sleeping, drinking is almost 50-50 with the community, so let's keep the comments friendly and have fun with the possibilities. Anyway, let me know if there's anything I missed off when it comes to surviving on a planet. Personally, I'm so excited for this idea, and I'm glad they are implementing it. It's all just a question of how in-depth is it going to be. Let me know your thoughts on this. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitch, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I shall see you next time.